Baker. We have Steve Moore, economist, with us. We want to talk actionable. What should you do with inflation at 3.1%? The Federal Reserve has to. I think they're cornered and will be forced to raise rates. So does that mean you should be buying your house now, selling your house now? What should you be doing in the stock market? Steve, can you answer these major questions?
Well, look, if we could stay at 3.1%, I wouldn't hyperventilate. But my worry is that we might go higher than that. You're seeing, Hillary, you've been reporting on the supply side, disruptions in the chain of production, and that means shortages of things. And so I am worried about that. I think that we could see inflation go to 4 to 5% temporarily, and that would, I think, cause some real heartburn at the Fed. And I agree with you. I think sometime in the next number of months, the Fed may have to raise rates. And by the way, when's the last time? It's been a long time, hasn't it, Hillary, since the Fed raised rates?
That's right. And when the Fed even hinted at it, we saw what happened with the market, right? And then the Fed made that complete reversal, realizing that it was spooking the market like crazy. And then that brought us into even more euphoria, with that stock market. So that leads us to, okay, from the stock point of view, what we have going on right now, I want to talk about it. It's Memorial Day weekend. A lot of us feel really rich because you're doing great in the market, but we have individual investors literally attacking online using Twitter to attack research analysts who are putting with nothing but the intention of giving their own opinion, not to make money out of it, that let's say AMC Theaters is too overvalued. We have a stock that has tripled in a week. AMC Theaters was struggling before the pandemic. I do love AMC Theaters, everything that they've done. They have great innovation that they're thinking of. But when an analyst goes out there and says, this is way overvalued, there's some fundamental issues, here they are, and then he receives death threats, that means something is going on wrong in this economy, right? And we're seeing GameStop. That stock, I thought we were done with the excitement around GameStop, which is a retailer of video games. It is hopping. The stores are hopping. I did a store check, but is it worth the multi-billion-dollar valuation? So what does this end badly? Because I think it does.
Well, I'd be, as I've said many times on your show, I'd be very cautious about the stock market right now. Now, you're right, the market keeps going up, almost defying gravity week after week. But at some point, what goes up does come down. And I really want to tell your listeners, I am very concerned about what happened at the shareholder meeting at Exxon this week. People should be paying attention to this. This is a new development in stock ownership. And for those who haven't followed the story, you had activist investors, and they aren't really even investors. They own tiny share of the stock, but what they did is
like 0.2%.
Yeah, exactly, a tiny amount. And they were able to they're trying to advance a social environmental agenda on these companies, and it basically Exxon, which is an oil and gas company, they want them to get out of the oil and gas industry. So that what I'm saying to your listeners is, when you see these activist investors that are able to prevail, and this was one of the first time a major Fortune 50 company was essentially attacked like this, here's my point. I don't think these activist investors have the shareholders' best interest at stake. I think they have an alternative agenda, and that is bad for investors. So be careful out there and watch to see whether these companies, that you're investing in might be attacked by, it's called ESG, right? What is it? Environment, social issues, and governance issues. And I worry about that because, look, companies are fundamentally supposed to be representing the shareholders, and I'm not sure that these activist investors are.
Right. ESG are three initials everyone needs to understand. We've talked about them here on the show. ESG in Europe, okay, which again, right, it's environmental, social, and governance issues. Governance meaning really boardship. So it's how many women and minorities are represented in the C-suite level, on the boardroom level, and how labor is treated in addition to environmental issues. So it really encompasses so much. Now in Europe, we have in March already the laws have started to be passed. They're going to go through in 3 phases where the investment companies can only make investments if it's public funds that they're managing, and almost all big, large institutional investors are managing public funds. They can only invest in those companies that are deemed ESG rated, with a certain rating that's that's acceptable. And this is making everybody scurry. No one believes. I think you and we want to see our environment clean. We want to see fairness in the boardroom. We want to see fairness in companies. If absolutely, there's no question about it. But what we don't want, we want it to happen in a way that's to the benefit of everyone underlying who's a shareholder in these companies, because those shareholders are the everyday policeman, fireman, teacher, public worker that has a pension fund. And we don't want them to be losing money. There are ways to enact ESG and have these companies organically and evolve in terms of ESG. Because I had the first green clean hedge fund in the United States of America, and that was in 2006. I had the state of New York invest in me, state of New Mexico, the Hunt family in Texas. I had Clark Hunt, the owner of the Kansas City Chiefs. I am so fortunate that they believed in it at the University of Connecticut, but I can tell you, it was really greeted with so much doubt that there could be money made off of the companies that are trying to be clean and green, and it's going to take time. And your point is very important, and everyone should understand that 0.2% ownership of ExxonMobil, you have 2 seats that are now taken by these sort of ESG, I don't want to call them ESG radicals, because it's not about ESG. It's really more, as you're saying, it's something else that's going on here. And I would hate for a movement that should be making the world a better place for everyone end up costing us and costing our companies, our employees, and underlying owners. It's as simple as that.
You're right about that. And what's happening now is some of the big pension funds. So what's one of the biggest investors in America? The California Pension Fund.
CalPERS, right?
CalPERS of billions of dollars. And they are aligned with some of these social investing. Now, look, here people should look back at social investing isn't new. It's been around, these funds have been around, Hillary, 20, 25 years. Their rates of return are not, they tend to be below the market return. Right. And so I guess I'm just saying, beware of these social investing things. Look, as you said, we all want to, clean up the environment. We all want, better opportunities for Blacks and women and so on. But is this the way to achieve it? I'm doubtful.
I'm with you on that. And I can actually give a good example, which is I'm seeing one woman who is on maybe 20 plus boards and can't really give what she needs to. That was never the intention, so that one specific woman ends up doing that. I always used to joke with Carla Hills. Did you know Carla Hills? I'm sure you did, from the Republican, in the Bush administration, Secretary of Commerce. She ended up on all these boards all the time, nonstop, but truly a Yale law graduate, took it seriously, 200 hours a week of work. But when, there's one individual who's being held up as then, oh, we're ESG, but in actuality, then all these other women are falling behind. Steve, thank you for joining us. I hope you have a great Memorial Day. This is a wonderful country. We are so fortunate. Steve will be with you next week, and everyone, hang in there. It's going to be a great economy ultimately. And for right now, it's the best there is in the world.